Hello, my freedom-loving friends, and welcome to a special edition of the Situation Report. So I've got a real wild one for you guys, and it's speculation, unconfirmed. At the same time, I still want to go through it because it might be true. Okay, so first, this is a post from Andrew Perpetua. Okay, and he says, I'm like 99.9% sure that Wolya saying is BS propaganda, but if it is true, it is pretty badass. They are basically saying Ukraine crossed the river and are ambushing Russians on the road to Melitopol and whatnot. I don't believe it for 1 second. And this is the text, okay? Ukrainian DRPGs cut off traffic on the roads from Genisik and Melitopol. Latest news from both banks of the Dniper in the Kherson region. The Ukrainians' DRGs that landed on the left bank. Now, we don't know where they crossed, but supposedly they landed on the left bank near Novokakhovka and Kakhovka. Not only opened fire on the crossings and attacked the retreating Russian troops, but also moved further away from the Dnieper, according to reports from the Russian and Ukrainian military at 3:45 a.m. Road traffic was interrupted in several places along the P-74 and the M14 roads. The first goes to Genisik and the second to Melitopol. The shelling of all crossings across the Dnieper continues. There is no traffic on the dam of the Kakhovka HPP. Downstream, Russian military and boats report that the water level has risen sharply and the current has intensified. We do not yet have information about the dam failure or water release. There are skirmishes in the suburbs of Kherson, according to one of the officers who managed to cross the Dnieper by boat. The positions in Kherson are now held by brigades of the Russian Guard, Chechen, but there is no need to talk about any organized defense. According to this and other Russian military officials, there are still between 16 and 20,000 people on the right bank, 13 to 15,000 in Kherson, and 5 to 7,000 in the vicinity of Berlysov. Information has appeared that the armed forces of Ukraine are establishing full-fledged pontoon crossings upstream of the Dnieper. Chaos on the roads on the left bank of the Dnieper. Our car was fired upon outside to risk, I don't know who. We went to a detour near Kaminka, came under another shelling, all with the eyes of a shifty mouse. Where are ours? Where are Urgi? It's not clear. They could have beaten their own with fear, says the Russian officer who is now halfway to Crimea. The M17 highway leading to Armyansk, according to Russian military, is relatively safe so far. Okay, so that was pretty incredible. And so I wanted to read a couple of replies to this. If a special operation force crossed the river, it will almost certainly be to secure access to the dam and hold for the arrival of stronger forces. UKAF may also have actively participant groups to sow a little confusion behind Russian lines. Major rapid attacks eastward. Unlikely, however, you never know. That sounds like panic escalation. Some Russian news got that UA crossed another river near Kherson, and after a game of telephone with panicked, routed troops, it suddenly became UA crossing the Dnieper. If shelling is as bad as they say, they could be shooting each other in panic. That would make a great movie. Can't believe it. Yet though, in 1.5 days, we will know what's going on. Knowing Russians, they are probably shooting each other out of fear in the middle of the night with low visibility. So much for that. I knew it. It was too good to be true. That is why it's always better to wait for the next day. So it might be speculation, guys. Okay, here's another one. I can believe some small special operation forces teams ambush targets of opportunity east of the river, but even that would be limited at best and certainly not away from the river. That would just be suicidal. Partisans, on the other hand, been lots of them around Melitopol. I can believe that. Crossing seems doubtful, however, some small special forces partisans activity with tasks seeding fear with portable indirect fire would make perfect sense. Voya has made some wild claims before, which never came true. Still, judging by the style and polish of the content, they are definitely professional journalists, which is quite puzzling. This is more than half-assed work of some mid-level SBU officer. Gotta respect the effort. Disinformation is the most effective when it looks credible. Gotta appreciate the hustle. Creating the pretext for blaming potential dam demolition on UA. Or some partisan noise making. If you know there is panic retreat going on, why not set off some fireworks on unsuspected places and let informal communication do the rest? My guess is that the Russians on the West Bank are panicking and blasting anything that moves, especially their own. The fog of war with much panic, what could go wrong? Am I an idiot? This is just speculation. That means long-range reconnaissance like special forces types. Let's put it this way, Andrew. Nothing would surprise me more than the armed forces of Ukraine did in fact landed on the other side of the river. If this is true, which makes sense, why give Russians time to regroup? This could be the end of the war. If Ukraine planned this, it might be possible. Beyond a certain point, they don't need to worry about mines and can move quickly. Use small groups, create maximum confusion, adapt quickly, and exploit weaknesses. That's what I'm saying too, guys, okay? The actions on the P-37 and M14 are entirely plausible. UK RSOF partisans have blown up bridges, railroad tracks around Melitopol several times. The pontoon bridge part of the story seems far-fetched. Tell me more about the shifty mouse. Okay, what's this one? Decided to block. Yeah. The calendar, it's November. I'm not sure. Okay, so I guess that ended. Okay, but guys, I did a video, Ukraine crosses the Dniper, and I titled it Unconfirmed. And I posted it to Reddit too, to Reddit Ukrainian conflict, okay? And I got a bunch of comments, so I want to go through this too, guys. Okay, maybe just some small raid. Let's be honest. ZSU needs time to clear the mines, bring in artillery closer to the river, and the biggest problem is bridges are gone. Easier just to attack from the south, from the north, spring most likely. All that being said, I'm open to being surprised. We have another one. I highly doubt it. If they did that, it would be a big breakthrough. And I replied, I think a small force would cross and try to take advantage. I suppose a lot would depend on the circumstances on the ground and the recon from drones. I really do believe they have crossed at least a small force, and I want this to be true, guys. I really do. Okay, we have another one. Ukraine just completed a pretty big move. Any move over the Dnieper would require supplies. Did they plan to move immediately across the river and thus had logistics queued up and pontoon bridges ready? We'll see. It would appear a master stroke if they did. And I gotta agree, it would be a master stroke because they would have had to have prepared beforehand and think to themselves, like, what do we do if it's chaos when they retreat? Should we prepare to keep going? I think they would have asked themselves this question and hopefully prepared. And I guess we'll find out tomorrow. And then here we have another one. I mean, use some common sense. There's no bridges left. The Russians who were in control of the area couldn't cross easily. How on earth is Ukraine going to rock up and traverse the river into fortified Russian positions with thousands of troops on the other side? Here we have another one. Those fortifications are not nearly comprehensive. We have no idea what the UA has upriver from the dam available to use to force a crossing and to create their own pontoon setup. As I said in my own post, I highly doubt they are across, but that doesn't mean it is militarily infeasible. Difficult, yes. Problematic, yes. Impossible, no. We armchair types without information simply don't know what assets Ukraine has available north and what they can bring to the dam. We don't know if UA has local artillery, drone superiority in the area, whatever this is supposed crossing is. Lots of unknowns. Under the right circumstances, they might do something. I doubt it. I hope they have successfully attempted it. Okay, right? It really would depend on the situation on the ground. I think the command at least gave this a thought and prepared for this unimaginable surprise, and they are trained to consider all possibilities and prepare accordingly. And then also I put, you have a good point. However, the Ukrainians knew beforehand that depending on the situation, they may be able to keep going. That is, if the situation allowed for it. I'm sure they have boats and emergency plans. I know this is far-fetched. There is a small chance that this is true. I really doubt it, but grain of salt. The Ukrainians are fully engaged in this war and are out-thinking and out-hustling the Russians. Most of them likely don't care all that much to stay and fight for nothing they truly care about. Effort and morale on the Russian side has got to be almost non-existent, leaving plenty of defensive gaps and opportunities for Ukrainian warriors to exploit. I said, right? Depending on how unorganized the withdrawal was, the Ukrainians could keep up the attack, possibly a small force with backup nearby. Here's another one. It would be hugely smart to continue the momentum and take advantage of the total chaos that must be the Russian situation and go straight through Kherson and give the Russians not a single day to regroup. Hard on Ukrainian soldiers, though. Totally agree with that. Okay, here we go. I doubt it, but UA has a lot of amphibious stuff, including a bunch of riveting boats recently received from the U.S. No heavy stuff, but easily enough for a recon group. Effort supported by artillery to maybe establish a bridgehead. It's a big maybe and very daring, but it's the UA and they seem to be prone to acts of daring when opportunity arises. I still doubt it though. Here we have another one. I don't see why they bother crossing the river there as opposed to just going south from areas past the river that they still control. They have already crossed the river. Okay. This is some severe hopium. Ukraine has just crossed thousands of square kilometers in like 2 days. No way their supply chain would be ready for a difficult crossing onto Russian territory across the river. Okay, so I checked this out, guys, and this is what I came up with. Okay, this is reported from the Insider, and this was March 14th of 2022. Video shows Ukrainian amphibious vehicle cannon destroying Russian armor in besieged Mariupol. Okay, and the video appears to show Ukrainian armored personnel carrier damaging a Russian tank and destroying another. The incident appears to be near Mariupol, the Ukrainian port. Okay. Here we go. A video circulating online shows a Ukrainian amphibious vehicle damaging one piece of Russia's armor and destroying another in the vicinity of Mariupol, the Ukrainian city port under siege. Okay, the video posted by a Twitter account that tracks weapons in the conflict between Ukraine and Russia shows a Ukrainian BTR-4 damaging a Russian T-72 B-3M tank and destroying a BRM-1K armored vehicle. The Ukrainian BTR-4, known as Bucephalus, is an 8x8 wheeled armored personnel designed in Ukraine and first developed in 2008. It can be used as an armored vehicle in infantry units. It provides fire support in combat and has a 30mm mounted gun on the rooftop that can easily be fired upon. Looks like this is sensitive, so we'll get into that one. And then we've got this one here, guys. Ukraine has a tiny amphibious, oh my goodness. Ukraine has a tiny amphibious force with a very dangerous job. Yeah, yes they do. Okay, and so this was reported in Forbes, guys. The Russian Navy is assembling what is, for the Kremlin, a powerful amphibious force in the Black Sea, one that could land troops on the Ukrainian coast, a wider part of Russian attack on Ukraine. Ukraine has its own much smaller amphibious flotilla. If this force survives heavy bombardment, if Kyiv doesn't immediately capitulate, and if the Ukrainians can organize a counterattack, three very big ifs, the Ukrainian flotilla might try to flank the attackers. That's what I'm saying, guys. Like, it's reasonable to think that Ukraine thought about this. It would make sense. I mean, if they probably thought, well, what worst case scenario if all of this, if they retreat, we might be able to keep going right behind them because we're going to be bombing the living hell out of them. They're going to be disorganized, and like, it could be true, guys. I'm making this video because I really want this to be true. I'm hoping it's true, and I think it is, guys. I think at least a small force crossed over the river. So anyway, guys, I'm going to be posting this to subreddit Ukrainian combat or conflict. I'm sorry, Ukrainian conflict. And please leave a comment. I'm going to leave a link to the Twitter of this guy and see what their take is. So having said that, guys, like, I know this is pure speculation and unconfirmed. I want to hear your thoughts. And guys, give me a like, give me a thumbs up, subscribe to my channel. I'm a brand new channel, and I'm hoping this helps to end the war, guys. So having said that, peace out, guys. Have a beautiful night. And Slava Ukraine.